Hello everyone, welcome back to another video with me, Nikki. Today we're thinking about our book lover friends today. Okay, I'm walking you through another project where you can make something for your friends and family, real-time tutorials, so that you see step by step how I'm doing it. Okay, with that in mind, I have some crazy book lovers in my house. Okay, and the idea is that if we could protect book covers and the books. We're not allowed to open books like this in our house. It's called Don't Bend the Spine. But anyway, we're making book covers today. We're making book sleeves to protect book covers today. And it's a great project. It's something that you can whip up and get done for the holidays, and you can just pick your fabrics to, according to the person that you're going to give that gift to. So let's get started. All right, so the first thing we are going to do, I have outer fabrics. I have two outer fabrics. Two outers, I have my two inner fabrics, and then I have some fusible fleece. Okay, so I have two outers, two inners, and two pieces of fusible fleece. I also have some scraps that will be the tab, okay, and fusible fleece. So what we'll do first is let's prep this here. Just because I cut this out of scrap, I'm using the same material for the outer and inner lining. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to adhere this to the back side of the fabric, prepping this with my fusible fleece. I love fusible fleece. Fusible fleece for this particular project is good because it's going to give it a little padding, but yet it's going to give the stability to the project. It's going to give it to, for the pouch. Grab your outer fabrics, okay? Let me show you something before I put it to the iron. The fusible fleece, we're putting bubbly side or rough side onto the wrong side of the fabric. Notice that what I've done is I have cut the fusible fleece smaller than the outer fabric. So it's 1 inch smaller, okay? And all that means is that the seam allowances will not have the fusible fleece, okay? So what we're going to do, we're going to flip this over. We're going to flip it over and adhere it to it. That's all. It's just 1 inch smaller on both the width and the length of the material. It's going to help reduce the bulk in the bottom of the bag, the bottom of the sleeve for the book. So while I'm doing this, I'll just tell you, what you want to do is, depending on the size of your book, okay, you can make small, you can make medium, large sizes. So if you read, or if the person, reads a lot of hardcover, you want to go for a large size book cover. Just because, one, it's going to give it more protection. And I'm going to tell you, anybody that buys hardcover books, they are serious book lovers. They're looking for them to stay protected, so you want to, make sure that you have the measurements for a large book. A lot of books sometimes, they're 6x9s. That just has to do with printing. With the cost of the printing. So 6x9 is a popular size, for books that people would read carrying, like fiction, biographies. So, just keep that in mind. But yeah, you can make these any size you want. Okay. So what I'm doing is I'm just making sure I don't see any bubbles. So I know that my fusible fleece is adhered to the material. Okay. Okay, so now that we have prepped our pieces, okay. All right, let's start off with, we'll start off with this, with the outer. So let's put your right sides together, okay? Right sides together. If you have patterns, pictures that need to go a certain way due to the designs, keep that in mind. Mine is, it doesn't matter. Mine is different directions, so that's good. So let's put those two pieces together, okay? And what we're going to do, go ahead and pin it. You know, pin it as much as you need to. All right, so we are going to put this in the machine and we're going to sew from the top all the way around to the other side. Make sure you back stitch, okay? Notice that I'm sewing directly underneath the interface there. Okay. Okay. Now, I'm not boxing these, but if you want to box yours so that you can have a you know, like a 1-inch boxed corner on the bottom, you can surely do so. Just cut your squares, and you know, you can take a look at some of my other videos if you haven't seen those videos. Okay, I'll put this to the side and we're going to work on the inner lining right now. Okay. All right, inner lining, put your right sides together. I'm looking, these look so close. Okay. Right sides together. Okay. Go ahead and pin them so that they don't shift. Okay. I have in gray thread, but I'm not going to change it because we're working on the inner lining, so that's fine. Okay, so I'm going to start sewing at one end, and what I'm doing is I'm going all the way down. I'm going to sew across. I'm going to leave a portion down there open, and then I'm going to continue across all the way to the top. Make sure you backstitch. Okay. And I'm sewing with the same seam allowance. I'm just lining up my fabric with the edge of my foot. Okay. I'm not too worried about this color thread right now because this is the inner lining, and even though the gray matches, but you won't see this inside. Okay, so I am back stitching. We're going to leave that little gap right there so we can flip this. All right, here we go. Okay, go ahead and remove those pins. What we're going to do here, I am going to clip off the corners from the bottom just to reduce that bulk. Make sure that you do not cut your stitches. Okay, don't cut so close that you're going to snip your stitches. Okay, let's hold off on those two. Go ahead and grab your the tab portions, and what we're going to do, put right sides together for your fabrics. Okay, we only have the fusible fleece on one side, we know that. Okay, we're preparing the closure. This closure you can decide, and I'll show you once we put it inside of the sleeve, but you can decide what kind of closure you would like. You don't have to use this when when you're done. When we're done, you'll see it. You can choose to do a button with a loop closure if you would like to. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to start in the middle, go all the way around, stop, and then obviously we're going to leave a portion here in order to flip it right side out. It's harder to flip these out if you choose the smaller side, so I'm going to choose the larger side just so I can leave a wider opening. Okay, all right, so go ahead on around. Back stitch. Okay. Kind of shifted a bit. Okay. Okay, I'm going to leave that portion open. Okay. Snip off the corners. I'm going to also snip off some of this. Okay. You always want to snip off corners in anything that you sew. I'm going to take off some of this as well. Just a small 1/8 of an inch, just depending on how wide you sewed your seams. Okay, I'm just grabbing my handy dandy chopstick turners because we're going to turn this right side out. Guys, ever since I hurt my finger, it's really hard to do these little simple things. Okay, so turning this right side out. I'm gonna have to use my chopstick. Okay, all right. I know, I'm a believer in the chopsticks. Okay, be careful not to poke through your fabric. Okay, you want to get into the corners, but you don't want to poke through. You don't want to poke a hole through your material. Okay, this is why cutting the corners, cutting inside to reduce the bulk is a good idea. Okay, and so it's naturally right there. I'm just going to flatten this with the iron. It's naturally closing the seams right there, which is nice, which is why I like to leave good side seams so I don't have to fight with it in order to close it. Okay, flattening this out. All right, this is going to help with the closure. Okay. All right. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to top stitch. We could have left this portion open, but I can't flip it from there just because of my fingers. But So we're going to close this up, do a top stitch 1/8 of an inch all the way around. Okay, this is going to be our flap. I'm going close to the end. Bobbing around. All right, so I'm going to cut off my little pieces here. All right, so now what we're going to do, okay, I'm going to fold that like that and seeing which side I like better. I'm gonna fold it like that. Okay, I'm just gonna hit this with the iron for now. Okay. All right, so what we're going to do is grab those pieces, okay? So we have our inner part, we have our outer. I didn't clip my ends for my for my outer fabric, okay? And I'm just gonna snip some of this as well. Okay, so like I said, if you wanted to, you could create the boxed corners for your bottom. If you're making this for a thicker book, you may want to put boxed corners, but for a thinner book, you don't have to put the boxed corners. Okay. All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to sandwich these together. Let's go ahead and we're going to put the outer layer. We got to turn this right side out. Right side out. And I like the ideas because this is going to be snug on the book. We can iron it later. So right now we just want it flipped. All right, so take that outer, okay, put it inside of your inner layer. Okay, line up your seams together. Make sure they are, I always do my seams first. Make sure they line up together. We love things with seams together. Okay. Going to pin it. Well, I'm going to clip it. Okay. Now I'm going to go to the other side. Do the same thing. Make sure that my seams line up together. Okay. I'm going to turn those seams opposite directions so that it's ready for me when I'm sewing. Okay, and now what we want to do, okay, let's find the middle of the middle of the book sleeve here. So what we want to do is fold this in half, okay, line up your edges together, your fabrics, just so that we can find the middle. Okay. All right, I'm just finger pressing here. Okay. And what we want to do with this is now we want to put the tab, we want to put this inside of the bag, inside of the, between the pretty areas. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this directly inside, okay, right in the middle portion. And it's right on that fold there. So I see that right there. Okay, it's inside. It's between the outer layer and the lining. leave some sticking up a little bit, okay? And that way I know it's right in the middle. I'm going to pin this down here so it doesn't interfere with me going around, okay? All right, so at this point now what we're going to do is we're going to sew all around the top of the sleeve. We have our bottom opening, okay? So just go ahead and close this all up, okay? I'm going to take this off just because it's going to be easier in order to cup it here and for me to rotate it. I like to start sewing at my seams just because sometimes when you backstitch you might see the the tiny knot, and I'd rather it be on the seams than in the middle of my project. Okay, I'm just turning the seams so that they're facing different directions. That also helps reduce bulk. Okay, so if this seam is facing that way, my outer lining is facing that way, the seam. Okay, and again, I'm just lining up my fabric with my foot. Okay, hold on. All right, so okay, so I've lined up those seams. We've got them ready. Here we are. We're going to start at the seam, go all the way around to close this up. As you sew, be sure to turn the project, okay? Turn the book sleeve because it's cuffed onto your arm, okay? I'm going over. Okay. If you pinned further down, the pin shouldn't be in your way. I'm removing my clip, but I'm checking my seams again just to make sure that they stayed, that the seams stayed in the right direction. I'm going to back stitch over this a little bit. Almost back to the beginning. My stitch line is riding right up along the interface. I can feel it there. Turning this. And back stitching. Okay. You might want to cut off any stragglies that you have, any extra threads. So it definitely, especially if you're using a light color lining, you don't want to see the stragglies through the fabric. Okay. Sometimes the fabric shreds, sometimes they don't. Now I'm just going to clip this just because I'd like it just to line up with the rest of the fabric. Go ahead to that bottom, and what we want to do is squeeze that squeeze your book sleeve, the outer portion, squeeze them together just so that you can get them through the hole. Okay, squeeze it through and pull. Okay, all right, tuck out those corners. This is the time right now that if you haven't done so already, go ahead and either get a chopstick or something and make sure that your corners on the bottom are poked out. Okay, all right, looks good. Okay, I went along the sides. Okay, let's close up. Oh, make sure you do your lining as well. Okay, go ahead and close up that bottom. Okay, remember the coordinating thread, so you will see it again. I'm using gray. I'm not going to change mine just for the lining here. Might just be something for you to consider if you want to change the thread. And I'm sewing 1/8 of an inch from the edge. from the edge of the fabric. Okay. All right, I backstitched. This is really going to be a cool project, you know, for the book lover. I'm telling you, they're crazy over their hard covers, over, you know, the sleeves. Sometimes my children take the sleeves off of their books, so when they're reading them, so that they don't get messed up and bent. All right, stick that lining inside. Okay. All right, stick it inside. Okay, we want to all right, so I am tucking in the lining, and what I'm just doing, I'm just pulling them down. I am going to just check and see that I'm rolling down the lining so that we get it so it doesn't extend over the edge of the book sleeve. I'm going to give this a quick press. Okay, and we want to put on top stitching. Okay, we can iron the rest of it later. Ironing right before, especially when you have several layers, ironing right before you do top stitching, it helps reduce the bulk. Okay, I'm going to, no, I won't put it back on yet. Okay, so again, I'm going to start in my seams and I'm going to do a top stitch. Okay, I'm going to do 1/8 of an inch. Okay. If you'd like to make your top stitch larger, by all means, go ahead. I mean, meaning the seam. Just checking my stitching. I love using these guide markers that are here on your foot because it helps you to make sure that you're sewing a straight line. All right, here we go. That was good. Back at the beginning. All right, cut my little stragglies there. Okay, so now we want to work on this closure. Okay, so what we want to do, well, I'm gonna hit this with the iron real quick. Okay, flatten this out. Okay. All right. See, this is the idea right now so far. You see this? Look, so that covers, you see how this goes right up to the book? All right, right to the top. Well, the good thing about this is that, let me show you before we do the closure. Look how much space you have inside. Okay, so somebody could actually add something inside. You can add, I don't know, they can add a phone, they can add a small pencil pouch in there, anything that they want to, okay? You could also, if you wanted to, create an outside pocket for this to go on the outside, okay? Meaning you just create another, outer and inner layer fabric, the same size as this, and you can fold it over, you know, to create the pocket on the outside, okay? Or if you want to, just attach a pocket, you know, directly on the outside instead of sewing it into the seams. There's so many different things that you can do with this. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I want to leave a little bit of room here just in case somebody had a really thick book, okay? And so what we want to do is prepare this closure. Now, you can put a button on here if you want to, okay? And then do a button hole here, okay? using your machine, create a loop, a button loop. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to use Velcro, the hook and loop, okay, for this particular one. All right, if you want to know how to do a buttonhole on the Brother machine, go ahead and check out a video that I did for the neck warmer, because I show you how to do that if you haven't seen that video for a buttonhole. Okay, but what I'm going to do, I'm going to, like I said, use Velcro for this. Okay, so I have my two pieces, and all I'm going to do, this is the stick-on one. Okay, sometimes I'm all about, you know, choosing an easy method just in case someone has a thick book. Okay, and so what we want to do is I'm taking off my sticky part from the other side. Okay, all right, I'm just going to attach this right here just so that I know that I'm going to get it, you know, right. Okay, so now that I have it there, because it's too much of a guess for me to it's too much of a guess for me to you know, to worry about measuring. Okay, so I have my hook and loop on a long piece that I just cut. They do sell the individual squares or the circles that you can buy. So that is an option, you know. When you put the stick-on hook and loop, just don't open it and close it so much on the first day. It needs to settle before you open and close it constantly. Okay? But that's it. This is, you know, a great way to personalize a gift for that book lover, you know, and you could, you know, if they are, I don't know, Harry Potter fans, if they are, there's plenty of book fabrics. If they love to travel, you know, choose a fabric that, you know, maybe has, you know, globes or, you know, the Eiffel Tower or something related to travel, cameras, anything, you know, so you can personalize it, okay? So, yeah, put those pockets on, you know, be creative with it, okay? There's a lot of different things you can do here, okay? Even make matching bookmarks. So, all right, if you have any questions, go ahead, put them down below. And, you know, that's about it. I'm going to see you back for the next video. All right, bye, guys.